Welcome back to Conversation to Close. This is Sean. Got another question from one of my community members, and the question was basically, how do I know what exit strategy to use when I have a deal? And that's a good question. It's a good question, especially for people who are new. So let's dive into that. So, first and foremost, there's a few types of deal exit strategies that are most common. Cash is one, subject to, seller finance. Another one that's up and coming that's pretty popular right now is novation. And then there are some offshoots. You can do a wrap, you can do a land contract, things like that. But you need to know what the potential is for the deal that you have so you know how to market it to your buyers once it's under contract. So if you've got, let's say, a hybrid deal, hybrid deals are difficult because the cash on cash return is harder to get to because the property has more obligations attached to it before the buyer can make their money. So for those of you that are unfamiliar, a hybrid deal is when there's a subject to and a seller finance. They have a mortgage, but they want way more money on top of what they owe for their mortgage. So this is different than a subject to deal because a subject to deal by itself, you're going to give them up to 10% of what their mortgage balance is. They're going to take that money, they're going to walk away. The buyer gets the property, and as long as the buyer is making that monthly mortgage payment, everybody's happy. A seller finance is when they don't have a mortgage, but they still want to sell their house and they're willing to do it on terms. A hybrid is difficult because the buyer has to satisfy the mortgage from the subject to portion. Then they have to satisfy that monthly payment that goes to the seller for the seller financing portion. And then whatever's left after their war chest, after all their taxes, the insurance, whatever the case is, that's their cash flow. So those are harder to move. You have to be very, very careful that your cash on cash return, all of your expenses, your rehab, that all plays a factor in determining if this is an equitable deal for the end buyer. So if I've got a deal, and let's just say that it's a hybrid deal, and the cash on cash return is 7%, because the monthly payment going to the mortgage is $1,500, and the only thing that the seller would take is $500 a month, and the LTR or the STR doesn't really support a good cash on cash return. What's my exit strategy? If I have that deal under contract, it's going to be a homestead buyer. It is absolutely going to be a homestead buyer. Sean, what's a homestead buyer? A homestead buyer is not an investor. A homestead buyer is someone that doesn't have credit, they don't have maybe a social security number, whatever the case is, they can't go to a traditional bank to get a loan to buy a property. And a lot of times, if that's the case, these people are primarily used to dealing in cash. So they have a lot of it because they don't have credit. Anything that they ever want to buy, car, big purchases, has to be using cash. So a homestead buyer is a great exit for a really good deal that doesn't cash flow enough for an investor. I probably would not sell or push to sell a cash deal to a homestead buyer. Because again, a homestead buyer, the mindset is different. They're not looking to put a lot of work into a property. They want to be like everyone else. They want to buy their property. It's move-in ready for the most part. And then if they want to, they can make their own personal changes to it. So if I've got a cash deal, I'm probably not going to push it to a homestead buyer because chances are it's going to need like $45 a square foot in rehab work. Most homestead buyers don't want to do that. So I wouldn't do that. That would be a wholesale deal to an investor all day long. Here's another exit strategy that people don't usually think of on a disposition side. For a cash deal, for a subject to, for a seller finance, for a wrap, whatever the case is, reach out to your local realtors in that market. Hop on Zillow, hop on Redfin, whatever you want to do. Put in the zip code for the deal that you have under contract. Filter your properties out to for sale or recently sold, and look at all the realtors that sold properties that look like yours. And then you reach out to them. Their phone numbers are right there. And you say, hey, I see you're killing it in this market. Congratulations. I only like working with the best of the best. So I've got this deal under contract. Here's the terms. Here's everything. I don't care what you sell it for. And make sure that you mean that when you say it. If you have a deal under contract for $100,000 with a $10,000 assignment and you give it to a realtor and you say, hey, I don't care if you sell this thing for 110. I don't care if you sell it for 150. Make your money. Put it on top. As long as I make my money, I'm good. That's how you build a great working relationship with a realtor, because you're putting money in their pocket, you're adding value to them, and they're using their existing buyers that they've already networked with anyway. You're just piggybacking. So that's a great exit strategy, because realtors will know investors for fix and flip, investors for buy and holds, and even homestead buyers that really want to buy a house but couldn't qualify for the one that they really wanted to get. So that's a great resource as well for exit strategies for a deal. You just have to use your common sense when it comes to what type of deal you have. Now, again, new people, you don't know all of these different things, and that's what this community is for. Ask questions and I'll answer. But first and foremost, get in contact with realtors in the markets, successful realtors in the markets that you're going to be doing business in. Pro tip, look for hungry realtors who maybe just started. I know that goes a little bit against the successful realtors, but successful realtors may not necessarily need you. They're not going to take you as seriously because you're not bringing them that much value. They've already got their own money, they're closing their own deals, they've got their own connections, their own network. It's like, sure, if I come across, but they're not going to actively look. I'll give you an example. When I first started doing this, I worked with a realtor. She had only been doing real estate for a year. I got passed around the entire office for people. Oh, I really don't have the time for you, but maybe this person. Till I got to her. Now she was new. She was hungry. She didn't have any bad predispositions about wholesalers. And her and I have done more deals than every single person in her office. Every single person that pushed me aside that says that they didn't have time for me back then. Now they're all like, "Are you still working with her? You want to work with someone else?" No, no, I don't. I have my realtor, and I've got one in every major city that I'm doing business in. That's going to be an outstanding resource. It's going to be a grind. It's going to be hard because a lot of realtors, they have a bad taste in their mouth from bad wholesalers. That is something you're going to have to overcome. But if you can, and you find one or two really, really solid realtors that are down for what you're doing, and you take care of them, they will get most of your deals sold for you. 100%. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm Sean with Conversation to Close. If you have anything else, drop me a comment, drop me a DM, shoot me a message. Have a great rest of your day.